And we do have some other damage over here just to the right. I know it seems minor, but just to give you an idea of all the debris that can get caught up in these circulations, we don't know where this came from. There are pieces of debris kind of all over this neighborhood.
She is on the second floor of her home right now, yes.
Well, and you know, I know it's tough. It's tough. It's tough. So we're going to continue heading south and east, get out ahead of this storm, look back to the north and west, and get a better visual of what's going on with this storm as it tracks into the city of Savannah. And that weakening trend with the sun setting is likely to occur. But if you have pool plans this evening, maybe barbecuing in Effingham County, 119 and 21, looks like you're going to get some rain here over the next 30 to 40 minutes. All in all, a great day for playing. Something we may be continuing with today that we didn't deal with yesterday. A little bit gusty with that easterly flow, 10 to 15 sustained, maybe a few gusts up to 20 miles per hour or so here locally on the island. And as they said, and as we've been saying here on WTOC, the general idea is that you run from the water, you hide from the wind. Historically, water is much more deadly from tropical systems than wind. And as we put a squall line tracker on this, it is going to be moving off to the east, and I do think it'll make it from Belleville down to east of Baxley right now. Basically, this line extends all the way down to Alma, and it's pushing maybe just north of due east. Already some showers on the weather app this evening. You can see right now you're going to need this out the door tomorrow morning as that increasingly breezy onshore wind continues. And that's what we're going to be dealing with again through 8 a.m. Just some patchy fog, mild, mostly dry, maybe an isolated shower. They're in an environment where if they are by themselves, kind of isolated little clusters here, they can rotate, kind of like what we saw across western Chatham County about an hour or so ago. So just be aware they don't look impressive, but they're ahead of this main line of storms. And typically when we see this setup, this is where you can get these isolated spin-ups. While we are not all going to see rain, we will all be dealing with the clouds, number one. Number two, it's going to be feeling quite chilly. Your wearcast for tomorrow in the 40s in the morning. You factor in the breeze, some folks feeling like the 30s, so we are talking coats. And I think by afternoon, we'll raise the numbers just a little bit. But notice this, we will also raise the rain chances up to about 50 to 60% for Savannah. What they were just talking about in that press conference about the easterly flow and the risk of surge, the risk of tides. Remember, folks, it is the atmospheric setup, not only Irma down here, but what is going on all across our area that we have to consider when developing a forecast and when communicating life-saving, potentially, information. And our severe thunderstorm warning, it has expired, but still southeastern Bullitt County, far northern Bryan County, Pembroke to Black Creek, still heavy rain and some occasional lightning occurring. And this is still pushing off to the north and to the east into Effingham County. So it's worth watching, and it could impact a couple plans out there, but in general, much weaker than it was just 15-20 minutes ago. Highway 21 is where you see the cars traveling, and we're looking back to the west and maybe just south of due west. And what you see here is a shelf cloud. Underneath that, we see rapidly rising low clouds into this, and this white shading here is probably some torrential rainfall, a lot of lightning, and on the preceding edge of this line of heavy rain, definitely some 35, maybe up to 45 mile per hour wind gusts. But I think the main window tomorrow for any possible impacts, getting the free water for the grass, late morning to early afternoon, and then we will begin to obviously taper down the rain chances, at least temporarily. In these severe weather setups, spring and summer especially, we can give you live data, wind gusts, temperatures, rainfall, those types of things that are important not only for forecasting, but then relaying those reports to the National Weather Service. What's going to happen here over the next 15 to 20 minutes is we're going to be hit in portal by RFD, the rear flank downdraft, the bottom side of that circulation. So we're talking hail, very extreme winds here, 60 to 70 miles per hour possible, and heavy rain. So notice on the camera, the video outside, you can see those lowerings, what we call a scud, and then just below that, we have a solid shield of what looks like white. That's rain, that's hail, and those are damaging straight line wind gusts now moving into northwestern Bullitt County. Best option out to sea to worst option, a direct landfall. All these possibilities still on the table. Uncertainty continues. A lot to watch over the next couple of days. We'll keep you updated. Number one, we give you a sight inside the storm, a visual. And think about the hurricane. When folks had to leave, they wanted to know what was going on in their local areas. We now have an even better way to give you visuals. We already have a strong onshore flow. Tides are already running high, and that's going to continue to pile water water up against our coastline long before Irma itself impacts our forecast. So tides will get higher and higher and higher with that prolonged and strong easterly fetch. Now, on top of that, you bring Irma into the equation, and we're going to get damaging wind gusts offshore, 70 to 80 mile per hour gusts possible offshore, funneling an incredible amount of water into the area. At the same time, we will be having heavy rain. So not only coastal flooding, but that backs up the drainage like a dam. Any of the heavy rain we see inland, it is going to rise and back up as well. So significant coastal flooding remains possible. And we talk about one of the biggest dangers with tornadoes being flying debris, right? Here's an example. Look at that sheet metal. It's wrapped around the power pole there, strewn up and down the line. It's terrible. It's, I think, a feeling that I can't put words to, having water in your home. It's hard. It really is. You look out in this parking lot, you see businesses and you see cars, two of which at least probably totaled. And it just looks like vehicles to most of us. But remember, and I think y'all kind of just touched on this note, it's going to take a community to kind of rebuild here. Most of us went through Irma unscathed, relatively so, but some of us did lose a lot. We had people trapped in homes. Homes had never flooded before. I don't know if they had flood insurance or not, but their lives have certainly changed. The heavy rain, gusty winds possibly moving into the city of Jessup, but overall, as you all have mentioned, cloud cover doing us a favor today, lowering that severe threat. Widespread severe weather not a concern, but isolated pockets of severe weather certainly still possible. That's why we are here in the field, keeping you updated on air and online. Most dangerous here, we have lines down, possibly still live, so we can't go any further down Market Street. This is a residential area, at least 2 private properties being impacted by this possible tornado. Speaking of which, let's take you back to yesterday. First alert radar. We're going to track this storm all the way down to Glenn, McIntosh counties. And if Sean Evans, he's in the WTOC Storm Chaser, could pan with me, hopefully my mic works. So if I start to fade, y'all just holler at me and I'll go back. But there is signs that the water is beginning to recede. And if we can zoom back in on this, it's kind of a debris line here, if you will, and that's a good, water's probably gone down a good 4 inches or a few feet as far as the pavement is concerned. They're out to get them. It was very hard to get there because the current is strong, the water was deep, and there was a lot of debris. What used to be there is now gone, and now we're approaching Market Street in Alfred, and what is left of the roof of this home, what is left of the structures in the backyard has been tossed across the property line onto Market Street, and that is why it's closed. Again, this is all within the span of less than 100 yards. The damage to the advanced auto parts is across 80. Just to our north and to our east, so whatever formed off to the south and east, or maybe just due south of us, moved just east of due north of us, and this is the path that the National Weather Service team will come out and survey here later today.